What's going on, everybody? Brandon back here with another review of 8 weeks to Sealfit. Recently just completed week 7 of the program and got a little review for it to go through. So let's see how everything goes for this week. So just to start off the week, generally analyzing it, compared to week 6, it was much better from my personal perspective. Just because I wasn't sick and I came off of that groggy feeling and restriction physically and just felt a million times better overall. So going into Monday, it was just noticeable difference getting through that week of just pure struggle. So pretty much the layout is going to be relatively the same. Monday through Friday is predominantly just focusing on strength enhancement. Wednesday is going to be your grinder PT with your LSD. Saturday is your cool down routine, which again, with time restriction, I've only done Monday through Friday. But looking at the routine for Saturday, it's still pretty challenging routine, and it looks like it's going to take about the same amount of time to complete as well. And with that being said, the routines are still sticking around the 2-hour mark. Friday, the routine took me a little over to about 2 hours 15, 2 hours 20, somewhere around that range. And that was because just they threw in a longer run at the end. So it was a 3-mile run, but after all the strength training and man makers and everything else involved, it made the routine a lot longer and harder. So again, the longest distance running for this week is going to be about 3 miles with smaller intervals thrown out in there throughout the week. So the strength training exercises are going to be focusing on back squat, push press, deadlifts, and bench press. And some of the newer routines that are thrown in for this week were more enjoyable than the previous weeks, but still challenging nonetheless. So for a new one, there's going to be the strict dead hang, which, I've been pretty good at in the past, and the longest I was able to hold it for was about a 2-minute, just fully extended dead hang. And this was thrown in about mid-routine after a few other strength training exercises, so I was pretty happy to still be able to hold a dead hang for about 2 minutes. Another style of hang that they threw in was the above the bar hold. So pretty much you're going to get into a chin-up position and hold the bar, or pull yourself up on the bar and position your chin above it and hold as long as you can. And when I timed out for my max on that, it was about a minute and a half. And for the routines, you're going to do these hangs about 5 times through the routine as you do a set routine. Another exercise that was thrown in that was new was the one-leg box jumps. It's been a minute since I've done the one-leg variation of the box jumps, and I forgot how much I enjoyed them for what they are, because they do require a good amount of obvious balance and structure just to push off on one leg continuously and, land on top of a 24-inch, box. And it was a good change of pace. Again, this was thrown in near the end of a strength training day, and your legs and quads and everything are already shot, so it's already kind of daunting to get up that high, but it was still a nice change of pace. Again, stated through the Friday routine, another routine that they threw in were man makers. Now, I've done man makers in the past, and they're kind of like burpees in my point of view. They are evil little bastards, but it's a love-hate relationship because they are effective once I'm done completing them and going through the struggle. But in the meantime, it's kind of like starting out like, hey, yay, man maker is fun. And then 2 sets later, fuck man makers, and then you get to the end of it, you're burnt out, and you're like, all right, well, I don't feel that great, and then the next day you're like, wow, I really felt that, and I felt amazing because of it. So yeah, man makers get thrown in there eventually too. Another routine that was new was handstand push-ups. Now, looking at this from an average person's perspective, I'm glad that when they did put the handstand push-ups in there, it was on a max set routine, so there wasn't a required amount that you had to do, just because not a lot of people can do handstand push-ups. They're not the easiest thing to balance, just to get into, to balance yourself vertically upside down on a wall pretty much. And of course, again, they said that if you couldn't do it, you could do a different variation, but I was able to do the handstand push-ups, and they were, again, a good change of pace, and I definitely felt the strain on my shoulders, and, just something new, fun that they threw in there. Another new exercise, they implemented a couple of sprint exercises now. So it was about 10 rounds of 50-meter sprints. And I'm obviously not new to sprinting distances, but where I was at with my gym, it was the first time in a while where I've done strength training and then gone to do sprints afterwards. Because usually when I've trained for running competitions and stuff like that, I've always done sprints either before or after a long run, just depending. And it felt kind of different to do them after a strict strength training exercise. And when I first went into it, I thought that, my quads and everything would be just too fried to give me enough push off. And I would do good at the sprints, but nothing better than what I've experienced. And surprisingly, it was opposite. I actually destroyed the sprints more, I would say, than when I've done them in my previous training, just with strict running. And I was very impressed with how much strength output I had on my sprints. An honorable mention for a new exercise for the week, it's not necessarily new, but the variation was new to where I think it should be mentioned, was the implementation of 400-meter weighted walking lunges. Now, a week or two ago, there were weighted lunges that were required, but they were part of like a 5-set routine. So you only did 50 meters, and you would hold the weight above your head, and you would go out for 50-meter walks on lunges, and then you would rotate between other exercises. This was the first one where it was strictly 400 meters, in one go of weighted walking lunges. And obviously I couldn't do it all in one go, but just to continuously do walking lunges, I definitely felt the strain afterwards and was kind of impressed from the results of it as well. And another honorable mention that it's not necessarily new, but it still sticks around from the previous weeks, that seems to be a trend, is the half-a-mile buddy carry, or the 135-pound bar carry. It's still back. It's still one of those things where it definitely kicked my ass the first week it happened, and it's still here the week after, and it still sucks. And I think out of the whole routine so far, that's the one that's sticking with me, where it's the biggest mindfuck of all, because when you go through the routine, it's about halfway in the week, halfway in the routine, and it just goes on and drags forever. So it's a good mental test and physical strength test too. The first time I had to do it, it definitely fried the hell out of my shoulders. But this time around, I was able to get a little further distances every time before I had to stop, but it still is a nightmare to get through, and that seems to be one that just is not going away even this week to come. So, and really that's it for all the new exercises and week 7 in general. I'm going into the final week now, and coming out of week 7 felt really great. Again, Friday, it ended on a 3-mile run. And I would say, just from how the week went, it took a lot out of me, even when I was coming out of a sickness, feeling much better. The week still beat the crap out of me, to the point where when I did my 3-mile run as my end routine Friday, it took me around 9.5 minute average mile, which for my average, it's not horrible, but it's not the best that I can have. And I definitely struggled to get through it. And by the time I was done, I was just devouring everything. I was fatigued, hungry, sore, had to sit down for the first time in a few weeks because, at the end of the week, I was just, again, destroyed from it all. But I felt great waking up Saturday. I didn't have any DOMs or anything like delayed soreness. I felt really stiff, which is granted from the routine, but felt great overall, focused, and, a million times better. So going into the final week now of Sealfit, and looking forward to it. And this is also going to be the week too where a lot of things are happening as well. So Thursday, I'm starting up my college classes, so Thursday and Friday will be late nights just to get the routines done, but still going to go in and get them done. And again, when I started this routine, I was looking to see if it would be able to help my running times. Now, for the beast routine that I was saying that I really wanted to help, I'm probably not going to test that one immediately just because that is a 15-mile routine. And in the last 8 weeks, the longest distance I've obviously been running is what the routine or the program is called for. So it's only been a max of about 4 weeks. And for building miles and efficiency and shin splints and knee issues and stuff like that that can happen, I'm not going to attempt that one right off the bat just because jumping from 4 to 15 miles with other things is not the smartest approach. But however, I will be testing the 5K results. I signed up for a 5K, not this finishing weekend for Sealfit that's going to come up, but the weekend after. So I'll have a weekend to continue and do either more Sealfit or transitional stuff and, get a little bit of quick running training and strictly running training and see how much Sealfit has implemented to help out with my 5K time. Now, typically my 5K before I tested the program was about a 21:10, and I would run the same course near where I live. So what I'm probably going to end up doing is I'm going to test the same course the week after I finish Sealfit, and I'm going to see how my time stacks up against that. And then I'm going to have the 5K that weekend and see how it stacks up against that. Because for competition, there's, again, different variables where they can help affect your time. Either the course, the environment, the strive for competition, just different things can affect it. So I'm looking to see how much gains that I was able to get from this program. And when I am finished with the final 8 weeks, I'm going to do a more in-depth review of the program, of just what I've experienced. I know that my intro video was a little bit more structured and it followed the evaluation of the first few chapters, but all these weeks that I've been reviewing have just kind of been more like a blog format review of my experience and, a little extra things here and there, so they're not nearly as structured. But the next one hopefully will give better insight, or not the next one, the follow-up, the final after the 8 weeks are completed, will give a better follow-up of the program, my thoughts on it, my results from it, everything else involved. So going into the final week, and see you next time.